I want to talk to you today about spiritual sensitivity. I can go back to a time in my life and ministry, my walk with God, that there were spasmodic times when God would intervene in some supernatural way. I'm going to give you for instance. Early on, I was involved in ministering at the Calvary Rescue Mission in downtown Yakima, Washington. My ministry was not exercised through speaking in the congregation where I attended on a regular basis. Matter of fact, in the 14 years that I was attending the church in Yakima, I probably spoke 5 times in the congregation through the service or during a service. That was normally when the pastor and other leaders were away at general conference, and he would ask me to take charge. Well, so my ministering on a regular basis took place once a month down at the Calvary Rescue Mission. During one of those nights on a Monday night, there was a young man that I connected with, and he told me, if you'll come and pick me up, I'll come to church with you. So on the next church night, I think it was on a Wednesday night or something, I went down to the mission to pick this young man up. I parked the car out front, I got out, walked inside, I looked around, I asked questions, couldn't find the young man, he was not there. So I walked back out the door, and I reached down and grabbed the handle to my car door, and I hear the voice of a man speaking to me, sitting on a bench in front of next to the door of the rescue mission. Now, his words, he says, "Hey, preacher, I got a question." I said, "Okay." So I walked back over to him. He's sitting down on the bench. There's another man sitting right next to him. I kind of got down on, I'm going to say my haunches. I wasn't kneeling, but I was squatting down and kind of looking up at him a little bit. I didn't want to stand over top of him. He asked me a question. I thought for a second, and I began to answer him. And he asked me another question. And before I could answer that question, he became very aggressive. He got in my face and he asked me another question. Now, in just a few moments, we were nose to nose. And I thought to myself, this guy's gonna hit me. He was so mad. And at that same instant, I felt a rush of the Holy Ghost. And I burst out speaking in tongues right in his face on the sidewalk downtown. And when I did that, he just kind of turned into like a zombie and he sat down on that bench. I sat there shocked at what I had just done. He got up, he walked across the street, walked across the lot, over towards a McDonald's. So I got up and sat down on the bench where he was sitting, next to the other man. I turned to the other man and I said, "Man, did you see that?" He said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he got up and he walked inside the mission. And I thought, it was as though God had created a bubble around me and this gentleman for this encounter that we had. But I felt like when I burst out speaking in tongues, that the Lord was saying, Sit down, devil, and shut up. That's what my experience was. Now, those kinds of things didn't happen every day. Now, I went to the church. I reached out to my pastor. I told him the story of what had happened. And this is what he said to me. Just keep letting it happen, boy. Just keep letting it happen. I was a young man, 24 years old. And it was a beginning of experiencing the supernatural of God outside the four walls of the church. We are so accustomed to God moving in our services and where we are comfortable in a church setting. I have to tell you, I hungered for and I longed for when I would read through the book of Acts, and I would ask the question to the Lord, where are these things in my life? If I am truly a Spirit-led, born-again, apostolic believer, where are the miracles? Where's the sensitivity? Where's the manifestation of your power? You said we would receive power after that the Holy Ghost has come upon us. I'm asking, where is this power? I even would look at our services, our Pentecostal services, 3 songs, take up an offering, preach a message, go to the altar, week after week, and I would say, where's this in the book of Acts? Trying to find some resolve, trying to find some answers. Now, I said I was going to talk about spiritual sensitivity. Through time, when I came into a place and a relationship with God of having communion through daily prayer and communion, fellowship, communion, praying, fellowshipping Him in His Word, there became a heightened sensitivity spiritually. And what I mean by that is I think there were things happening in the spirit world all around me all the time. I just wasn't aware. I had no sensitivity to it. During this course of my life and these changes in my own experience in God, now you don't get this through going to school, but there became a heightened sensitivity and spiritual awareness that I began to see things and engage in things like that situation on the sidewalk. I have many, many more stories to tell about this and experience. I'm talking about a 40-year history, but some significant changes that came after I'd been in the church 15 years. I went to a manifest meeting, a prayer and fasting meeting on the East Coast, and then I engaged in a traveling relationship, ministry relationship with a man by the name of Tony Bailey, and traveled for a couple of years. It was during those seasons of time that God began to open up things that would bring an eventuality that my ministry would take me to, I think, more than 14 countries by invitation. And I would begin to see the supernatural hand of God outside of the 4 walls of the church. It is my burden to share this with as many young ministers, men aspiring for the ministry, that you just don't follow a traditional path, but you truly allow God to lead you into a place of walking with Him. And this is what we call apostolic ministry.